the most mysterious beings in the Bible. Number 1. Mermaids. Did you know the Bible references beings that resemble mermaids? Though mermaids are popular in various cultures as enchanting creatures, the Bible actually associates them with distractions and temptations rather than friendly figures. One example of a mermaid-like figure in the Bible is the god Dagon, an ancient deity of the Philistines. Often depicted as a merman with human and fish features, Dagon was worshipped widely across Mesopotamia and referred to as the father of all gods. His legacy persisted for centuries, even appearing in narratives about Samson. Judges 16 verses 23 to 30. The Philistines attributed Samson's capture to Dagon's power over Jehovah. However, Samson called upon God, regaining his strength and proving that Israel's God was supreme. In 1 Samuel 5 verses 1 to 7, after the Philistines seized the Ark of the Covenant, they placed it in Dagon's temple. Mysteriously, Dagon's statue fell, its head and hands severed, symbolizing the god's powerlessness before Jehovah. The Bible presents idols like Dagon as false gods, representing temptations that distract from the worship of the true God. 1 Corinthians 10 verse 20 warns, "What pagans sacrifice, they offer to demons and not to God." The message emphasizes that worshiping idols, whether ancient gods or modern distractions, undermines our spiritual connection and obedience to God. Number 2. Ophanim. In the Old Testament, angels are mentioned frequently, appearing 108 times in total, and in Exodus, Moses encounters angels during Israel's journey through the wilderness. The Hebrew word Ophanim refers to wheels, and is especially significant in Ezekiel's vision of God's throne, where God reveals a complex and mysterious scene. Ezekiel describes his experience, though it's challenging for him to find exact words, so he uses comparisons and similes to help convey what he saw. In Ezekiel 1 verses 15 to 21, he describes a dark storm cloud full of lightning and fire approaching from the north. Inside, for glowing, angelic creatures known as cherubim appeared, each accompanied by a unique wheel beside them. These wheels, which resembled gyroscopes, could move in any direction without turning. Ezekiel saw that each wheel had rims covered with eyes, symbolizing God's all-seeing wisdom and omniscience. He understood this vision to show God's presence and power, directing him to become a prophet for the Hebrew exiles. Number 3. Behemoth. Imagine an enormous 7-ton African elephant charging towards you. Its massive trunk outstretched, legs like tree trunks pounding the ground, and eyes wide with intensity. Imagine how terrifying this would be, and now think about animals even more fearsome than elephants once roaming the earth. In the Bible, in the book of Job, we meet a creature known as Behemoth. Job, a wealthy and righteous man, lived in the land of Uz with his family. God described Job as blameless, but Satan challenged this, claiming Job was only faithful because God blessed him. To test this, God allowed Satan to bring suffering to Job, though he could not take Job's life. In his struggles, Job questioned why the righteous suffer while the wicked prosper. He wanted to confront God, who finally responded. Through a storm, God highlighted his unmatched wisdom and power in creation, reminding Job that humans cannot fully understand his ways. God pointed out Behemoth, describing its strength and size. "Behold now Behemoth, which I made as well as you. He eats grass like an ox. His bones are like tubes of bronze, his limbs like bars of iron." Job 40 verses 15 to 18. Scholars today debate if Behemoth was a hippo or an elephant, or a now extinct creature. Yet, God's point remains. If Job cannot contend with such a creature, how could he possibly challenge its creator? Number 4. Leviathan. The Leviathan, as described in the Bible, is a large and terrifying sea creature representing the power and majesty of God's creation. People regarded Leviathan as a real, fearsome animal, known more by reputation than by first-hand encounters due to its monstrous strength and unpredictability. Its name in Hebrew hints at a coiled or twisted nature, fitting for a creature that inspired awe and fear. Isaiah 27 verse 1 says, "In that day, the Lord with his fierce, great, and mighty sword will punish Leviathan the fleeing serpent, Leviathan the twisted serpent. He will slay the dragon that is in the sea." This verse emphasizes the creature's mighty, serpentine appearance, often seen as a symbol of God's ability to conquer even the most powerful forces. In Psalm 104 verses 25 to 26, the Bible notes, "There is the sea, vast and spacious. There the ships go to and fro, and Leviathan, which you formed to frolic there," showing God's role in creating and controlling even the fiercest beasts. In Job 41 verses 1 to 5, God uses Leviathan to remind Job of his limited power, saying, "Can you pull in Leviathan with a fishhook or tie down its tongue with a rope?" God illustrates that while man may be proud, he has no power over such a creature. Leviathan represents the humbling truth that humanity is small in comparison to God's creation, and that God alone possesses ultimate control and strength. Number 5. Cherubim. The cherubim are a group of heavenly beings created by God, appearing in the Bible right after Adam and Eve disobey God. After Adam and Eve eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, they are banished from the Garden of Eden. God then stations the cherubim to guard the entrance, preventing Adam and Eve from reaching out to the tree of life, which would have allowed them to live forever in a sinful state. Genesis 3 verse 24 explains, "So he drove out the man, and he placed at the east of the Garden of Eden cherubim and a flaming sword which turned every way, to guard the way to the tree of life." Cherubim hold a significant role in representing both the holiness of God and humanity's separation from him due to sin. For example, only the high priest could enter the Holy of Holies in the tabernacle, where images of cherubim adorn the Ark of the Covenant, symbolizing the presence of God. Exodus 25 verses 18 to 22. Ezekiel 10 also describes the cherubim as having wings, hands, and many eyes, moving within wheels. This imagery reflects their power and omnipresence. Though cherubim protect God's holiness, they also assure believers of access to God's throne because of Christ's sacrifice, symbolized by the torn temple veil. Matthew 27 verse 51. Number 6. Melchisedek. Melchisedek is one of the most mysterious figures in the Bible, appearing in the time of Abraham. His name alone, which means King of Righteousness, as mentioned in Hebrews 7 verse 2, hints at his unique role and character. When we meet Melchisedek, he is both a king and a priest, a combination not commonly seen in the Bible. Genesis 14 verse 18 tells us he was the priest of God Most High, showing he served the one true God worshipped by Abraham. During their encounter, Melchisedek presented Abraham with bread and wine and blessed him, acknowledging that Abraham's recent victory in battle was due to God's help. Genesis 14 verse 20. In the New Testament, the book of Hebrews compares Jesus to Melchisedek. Hebrews 6 verse 20 says that Jesus became a high priest forever according to the order of Melchisedek, establishing a priesthood that transcends time. Melchizedek's priesthood is unique because, unlike others, it has no recorded beginning or end. Hebrews 7 verses 1 to 4 further explains his mysterious nature, saying he was without father, mother, or genealogy, symbolizing a type of eternal priesthood. This mysterious figure foreshadows Jesus, who also brings peace and righteousness and is a priest forever. By honoring Melchizedek with a tithe, Abraham recognized his authority, making Melchizedek a significant precursor to Christ's eternal role as our high priest. Number 7. Death Angel. The concept of a death angel, or angel of death, appears in several parts of the Bible, particularly in connection with divine judgment and the protection of God's people. The story of the 10th plague in Egypt is a significant instance where God sends a destroying force to kill the firstborn sons of Egypt. Because Pharaoh refused to release the Israelites from slavery, God warned that he would send one final, devastating plague. In Exodus 11 verses 1-2, God tells Moses, "I will bring yet one more plague on Pharaoh and on Egypt. After that, he will let you go completely." Moses warns Pharaoh that all the firstborn in Egypt, from Pharaoh's own child to the firstborn of the livestock, would die. Exodus 11 verses 4-5. To protect the Israelites, God instructs them to mark their doorways with lamb's blood. This act of faith would ensure that the destroyer passed over their homes, sparing them from the devastation. At midnight, God struck down the firstborn of Egypt, and there was a great cry in Egypt, for there was no house where someone was not dead. Exodus 12 verses 29-30. While the Egyptians faced loss, God's people were protected. This destroying angel, sometimes called the angel of death in translations, carried out divine judgment. In Psalm 78 verse 49, it's noted that God sent a band of destroying angels during the plagues. Hebrews 11 verse 28 also references this being as the destroyer of the firstborn. The Bible sometimes mentions an angel or force bringing destruction, but there isn't one distinct angel solely named the death angel. Number 8. Seraphim. Seraphim are special angels created by God, with 6 wings and a fiery presence, who serve and worship Him continually. They are found in the prophet Isaiah's vision of God's heavenly throne in Isaiah 6 verses 1-2 Amplified Bible. In the year that King Uzziah died, I saw in a vision the Lord sitting on a throne, high and exalted, with the train of his royal robe filling the most holy part of the temple. Above him, seraphim stood. Each had 6 wings. With 2 wings they covered their faces, with 2 they covered their feet, and with 2 they flew. These angels express profound reverence by covering themselves before God, highlighting their unworthiness even as sinless beings. The term seraphim originates from the Hebrew word seraph, meaning to burn, which may signify their purifying nature. In Isaiah's vision, one seraph cleanses him with a burning coal from the altar, symbolizing God's purification of his sins. Isaiah 6 verses 6-7. This act enables Isaiah to serve as a prophet, purified and guilt-free. The seraphim continuously declare God's holiness, proclaiming, "The whole earth is full of His glory." Their reverence for God shows the depth of His holiness, and they remind us to approach God with humility and respect, acknowledging His sacred, infinite power. Similarly, in Revelation 4, John describes heavenly beings around God's throne declaring, "Holy, holy, holy is the Lord God Almighty." Number 9. Demons. Demons, as described in the Bible, are distinct beings with personal characteristics. Jesus and the demons communicate using pronouns like I, me, and you, highlighting their individuality and personality. Luke 8 verse 30. Demonic possession occurs when a demon enters a person, displaying its traits through the host. Practices like fortune-telling, occultism, and spiritism can expose people to these entities. Though people engage in these practices for various reasons, it's not merely something that works, but rather someone, a demonic spirit. Demons seek to inhabit bodies to use them against God. They attempt to distort the image of God in humanity, making people appear twisted and hideous. Jesus' sacrifice on the cross limited demonic power over Christians, although demons still attempt to mislead and weaken believers through lies and unbelief. Demons have intelligence and, in some cases, personal names. Jesus once asked a demon's name, and it replied, "Legion," indicating many demons inhabited one man. Luke 8 verse 30. Demons also communicate with others, as shown when a possessed girl followed Paul, announcing his connection to God. Acts 16 verses 16-17. Demons are entirely spiritual beings without physical form but cause spiritual and mental distress. They vary in wickedness, as Jesus noted in the Gospels. Although they are powerful, Jesus proved his authority over them, freeing those oppressed by evil. Revelation 9 verse 1. Number 10. Lucifer. In the Bible, Lucifer is mentioned as a unique figure in Isaiah 14 verse 12, where he is portrayed as a morning star, or light bringer, hinting at his former glory and radiant beauty. His role was significant among God's angels, particularly alongside high-ranking beings like Michael and Gabriel. Lucifer held a privileged position as a powerful and majestic angel, but his downfall came through pride. The Gospel of Luke references this fall when Jesus says, "I watched Satan fall from heaven like a flash of lightning." Luke 10 verse 18. Lucifer's pride began when he saw himself as worthy of God's position. Over time, his self-exaltation led him to imagine that he could rival God's authority. Ultimately, his heart became filled with pride because of his beauty and wisdom, as detailed in Ezekiel 28. This self-importance transformed Lucifer into Satan. This rebellion resulted in him and his followers being cast out of heaven. Though expelled, Satan continues his opposition to God by working against humanity, particularly by trying to corrupt the image of God in people. Today, pride remains one of the most dangerous sins, one that blinds people from its subtle, devastating consequences. Proverbs 16 verse 18.